Hey there, everyone. Welcome to the Weekend Prime Time. We begin tonight with the nationwide backlash against the Trump administration's increasingly aggressive crackdown on both immigrants and American citizens. Today, Americans took to the streets in Minneapolis and right here in New York City to protest ICE's deadly killing of Renee Good in Minneapolis, as well as the Border Patrol shooting of a man and a woman in Portland, Oregon. Though through it all, Trump administration is not budging in its defense of ICE and its operations, not only defending the officers' actions, but also its unproven claims that Good was, quote, a domestic terrorist. Just listen to DHS Secretary Kristi Noem this morning.
Why did you not wait for an investigation before making your comments?
Well, everything that I've said has been proven to be factual and the truth.
How can you assert with certainty that she was trying to hurt the officer as opposed to she was trying to flee the scene?
If you look at what the definition of domestic terrorism is, it completely fits the situation on the ground.
Meanwhile, Politico has learned that the day after the shooting, Noem quietly signed a new policy barring congressional visits to ICE facilities without a week's advance notice. That policy prevented Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar and two other lawmakers from gaining access to a Minneapolis ICE facility yesterday. That's in spite of a recent federal court ruling directing officials to follow the law and allow lawmakers to conduct oversight visits to ICE facilities at any time. Joining us now is Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. Congresswoman, thank you so much for coming back on the show. Let's start with what happened yesterday. Tell us exactly what happened when you tried to enter this ICE facility, and perhaps more importantly, why you think you were denied entry.
Thank you so much, Eamon, for having me. We made an attempt to go visit the Detention Processing Center. We were initially escorted in. We were given a start of a tour, and then abruptly stopped and told that because of the big beautiful bill, we could no longer continue our tour of the facility, which again didn't make any sense. Congresswoman Angie Craig and Kelly Morrison and myself brought a copy of that court case that you just referenced. We brought a copy of the bill that Trump himself signed into law in his first administration, and we made our case on why it was very important for us to be allowed to fulfill our oversight duties as members of Congress. But again, the ICE agents kept reiterating that it was because of the big beautiful bill that we could no longer continue with our tour, and that was it, that they weren't going to give us any further explanation. We told them that they were breaking the law, and they said they understood. That was also their understanding, that they were breaking the law for not allowing us to do our oversight, but there was nothing else that they could do. And it was clear that they might have gotten a call from Washington, probably Noem herself.
Congresswoman, in the brief time that you were there in the facility with your fellow congressional members from Minnesota, what did you see and observe about how the detainees were being treated?
We weren't really able to see the treatment of the detainees. We were able to get a glimpse of what the facility looked like. We were able to see a holding area with about maybe 20 people. Almost all of them were men of either Hispanic or Latino background. They pointed to a place that looked like a shower area. I opened the door. It didn't have a shower head. They pointed to an area where people were supposed to change. It said changing station. It didn't have a lock. I asked about hygiene. They told us they hold people for about 12 hours, so there wasn't a hygiene process, which was very alarming. I know that Representative Kelly Morrison, who is a physician herself, asked about any health care that my might be provided. Again, we were told, the longest they hold people for was 12 hours, so they weren't sure whether that was available. And we were also informed that there were 2 flights that were taking off with detainees to other detention centers throughout the United States as well.
So, Congresswoman, I understand you weren't able to get into the detention center and actually conduct your full oversight responsibilities there. But I'm curious, you have spent time out on the streets. You've seen the protests, of course, that have fanned out across the entire city. And I want to get a sense from you of the mood, the concerns that you're hearing from your constituents, but also the kind of advice, I guess, you're giving them in this moment as people are out there filming, trying to track ICE officers, warn their neighbors, and support them in different ways that they can in the wake of someone being shot and killed. Are you worried that more of your constituents' lives will be at risk? Are you worried at all as they pull out their cell phones, as they interact with these officers, that might just frankly not be safe?
We had about 100,000 folks protesting yesterday out in the street. It started at a park and ended where Reese Good was shot and killed. We are seeing just the outpouring of love for neighbor in Minneapolis and across Minnesota and across the country. People understand that these times are very dangerous. They're dark, they're chaotic, they're very confusing. They know that our democracy, our Constitution is being challenged. What they do know is that they have to be out there. They have to be documenting. They have to be looking for accountability. And, I was just in Minneapolis, and what we saw was cars being abandoned in gas stations because ICE just snatched people. We saw in downtown Minneapolis a car that was just rolling, still, missing a driver because ICE took that driver without turning the car off. And so people understand that it is their neighbors that are being disappeared, and we know that ICE is not cooperating with us. DHS is not cooperating and trying to get information. We still don't have a list of the people that they have detained, how long they have detained them, why they have detained them. So it is becoming even more and more important for the public to be out there, to be documenting, because we are seeing people being disappeared in our streets.
Congresswoman, we just received a statement from DHS about cases like yours where you were barred from visiting an ICE facility. They said, in part, a previous court order stated that funding appropriated to DHS by Congress cannot be used to prevent members of Congress from entering facilities. However, the court also ruled that funding derived from the One Big Beautiful Bill Act is exempt from this limitation. They further go on to say that this is to ensure adequate protection for members of Congress, congressional staff detainees, and ICE employees alike. Unannounced visits require pulling ICE officers from their normal duties, and they go on. Do you think you would have been unsafe if you had continued your tour of this facility, as this statement seems to suggest that you would have been inadequately protected if they had not been because they had not been given sufficient time to prepare for your visit?
Absolutely not. That is the most BS statement I have ever heard from DHS. And there are a lot of BS statements from DHS I've heard over the tenure of the Trump administration. When we were let into the building, it was no different than when I visited back in January to have a meeting with DHS officials. There was no need to have have anyone guarding us. There was no need to have anyone with weapons with us. It was a casual visit inside the building, and we could have been allowed to fully complete our oversight duties. Like I said, it was very fascinating to us that in the middle of that visit, that they did get that phone call, that we were immediately told that we had to go upstairs, and that the explanation on why our tour was abruptly ending would come after we went upstairs. So if it had to do with any sort of security problems, we would have been rushed with some armed guards or any of those kind of things that you normally see. But no, we quietly walked, and we were asked if we wanted coffee. So this had nothing to do with safety or worry for ICE agents or for ourselves.
Congresswoman, I want to play what Border Czar Tom Homan said this morning about violence and the escalation and the blame he's putting on Democrats, and hear you respond to that.
We got to stop the hateful rhetoric. Saying this officer's a murderer is dangerous. It's just ridiculous. It's just going to infuriate people more, which means there's going to be more incidents like this because the hateful rhetoric is not only continuing, now it's tripled down and doubled down.
Congresswoman, I'll give you the opportunity right now. Do you condemn all violence on ICE agents?
I mean, I would say this man has to look into the mirror. He has to look into the administration that he serves. These are people who are calling this mother of three a domestic terrorist. They are saying people are out there, committing terror. And it is unconscionable the way in which they are describing the American public against law enforcement that are trained to protect and serve them. And I'm at a loss of words to hear him say what he just said.
But yes or no, you do condemn violence on any ICE agents?
Of course, we all condemn any violence, whether it's on ICE agents or the public.
Congresswoman, what do you think is fundamentally leading to violence, leading to what we saw happen to Renee Good? Because it's been interesting from afar to see the dynamics there on the ground. There's several parts of sort of the federal immigration apparatus. There are ICE officers, of course, who are there, but Border Patrol is also on the ground in Minneapolis. I think the closest border for Minneapolis would be about a 7-hour drive away to Canada, I think. So not typically where Border Patrol officers would usually be. And we had John Sandweg, who led ICE for a period of time under the Obama administration yesterday, and he argued that part of the reason why we're seeing these intense, violent clashes and unrest is because Border Patrol is moving into parts of the country and bringing with it militarized gear and processes that are very different from what immigration enforcement used to look like in the interior. And I guess as you would assess what's happening there on the ground, what do you think are the factors that brought us to this point?
I mean, federal law enforcement is being sent as an occupying force into Minneapolis. There is no other way to explain having 2,000 and soon over 3,000 ICE and Border Patrol agents into our city. As you've alluded, there has been many a times in many administrations where they have carried out, immigration necessary raids where they have looked for people who have had deportation orders or removal orders, as they're called. They know where they are. Oftentimes they know if they don't have an address for them, they know where their relatives are. If there is a certain business where they have observed, they go in and they provide that raid. There is no reason to be roaming the streets, stopping stopping people, stopping cars, trying to go door by door in a neighborhood as they were doing on that fateful Wednesday when they did kill someone. There is no strategy. There is no way to explain what this surge is supposed to accomplish. To this day, I don't know any criminal that they have uncovered that they would not have been able to find with the normal path that they normally would pursue any of those criminals that were ready to be deported out of this country. This is to create fear, is to terrorize our communities. It is to tell us that we are powerless, and it is dangerous because the American people are used to knowing their constitutional rights. The American people know that ICE agents and border control agents have no jurisdiction over them in our urban cities. They know that they're only supposed to interact with them if they're crossing a border or if they are doing something that relates to immigration and customs. So this doesn't make any sense. And what this administration is looking for is for there to be deadly encounters so that they can revoke the Insurrection Act and have martial law. And it is a dangerous escalation that they're looking for. And Minneapolis residents are not going to give them that. We're not going to take the bait. People are going to be out there armed with the knowledge of what their constitutional rights are and what the limits are in them exercising it. And they are not going to give them the riots that they are looking for and the lawlessness, because we know that it is these federal agents that are being lawless at this moment.